Alright, today I'm going to be hacking a Panasonic Lumix FP8, and we're going to be doing this one as an IR hacked camera and adding externals. So we'll get started. You got to take out all the screws around the perimeter. There's 2 on the wrist strap side here, and these screws are going to be longer than the other 5 that we'll be taking out. There's 3 on the bottom, 2 next to the tripod mounting hole, 1 in this left corner, and then there's 2 on this left hand side. Alright, so go ahead and get these screws out. And you take this trim piece off of this side when you get those screws out. I'll take out the 3 on the bottom. So just keep up with these screws, because the 2 that we took out on that wrist strap side of the camera are longer than the rest of them. So you want to make sure you put those back in the correct location. Alright, now go ahead and take this, start taking the back cover off, and as soon as you do that, you can take this trim piece off that's on the bottom, and the one on this side over here. Just slide down a little bit, just pull downward, and then you can pull it out and take that piece off. Go ahead and take this back cover off. And alright, and sometimes when you take this back cover off, the speaker right here wants to stick, so be aware of that. Sometimes it's stuck inside this back cover. Alright, in order to get the front cover off, you have to remove one screw that's right here on this right side above the wrist strap holder. So take that screw out. And now you can take your front cover off. Start at the bottom, work it out, and then just pull it out at the top and pull it loose, and your shutter button area here will stay on when you take that front cover off. Alright, now that we've got the camera apart, we're going to need to take our LCD screen off the back. So to do that, take the 2 screws out that are up here at the top. You want to keep all of these screws that we're going to be taking out, keep those in order so you know where to go back. Okay. Alright, now we can lift up on our LCD screen and just rotate it over to the left hand side a little bit, and then disconnect the latch for the LCD screen ribbon. Gently lift up on it, being careful not to break it, and then ease that ribbon out. Set your LCD screen over out of the way. Alright, now that we've got our LCD screen off out of the way, we need to take off this plastic housing that's over the shutter button, and start right here on this side. See this little prong that's sticking down? Just kind of lift up on that to get it to pop loose, and then right here above the speaker, you'll have to get in underneath it and it may be easier to do it with a little flat screwdriver or something, and just kind of try to gently pry that up to pop it loose. And I think there's a little catch on the front too sometimes that must hang up, so then you can remove that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and show you the hack locations for the power switch and for the shutter. On the back side of this power switch, it's got the 3 solder locations. The one to the far left, that's going to be your power common, and then the one to the right corner over here is going to be power. Alright, and then on your shutter button, right on this top corner, try to get in here a little bit closer, this top corner right by the zoom switch location, that's going to be your shutter wire location. And when you solder that on, be sure you don't bridge it to the metal that's over the top of the shutter button, or you'll ground it out and it won't work. Alright, now to get to our external locations, we've got to disassemble quite a bit of this camera, and the first thing we're going to need to do is take off this power and shutter button board up top. There's 2 screws, one here on the right corner and one on the bottom left corner, so we need to remove those. Okay, and you'll also need to disengage this ribbon that's under here, and to make it a little bit easier to get to, go ahead and pop off the menu button board here. It's just on a little socket, so you can just kind of pop that up, and if you need to, you can get the speaker wires out of the way here and get under there and undo the latch for that ribbon. Be careful with that. We can go ahead and get this board to lift up. You'll have to get it to disengage from a couple of little latches. One on this corner here. I'm getting in too close where you can't see what I'm doing. Anyway, try to get in here and pop that board up and it'll come off. And now we can disengage this little ribbon that we took loose, because that goes to our flash board underneath. Alright, now we'll go ahead and take off this main board back here, and we need to take out 3 screws, one here on the top right, one toward the bottom right, and one on the bottom left. So we'll go ahead and take those screws out. Alright, and you've got 3 ribbons that you need to disconnect here. This little small one up top, just pull that latch up and be careful taking that ribbon out. Just slide it out. And now, to get our board out, just lift up on this left hand side, and that will allow you to get the board to come out on this right. And then just hold down on these 2 ribbons once you've disconnected the latches on them, which I haven't done yet. Get that latch up on that bottom ribbon. Okay, now just hold those ribbons and just work that board loose and take it out. Okay, and now to get the flash board out up top, there's 1 screw down in this corner that we need to take out. So we'll take that screw out of there, and that's a little bit longer screw than some of the others that we've taken out, so just remember where that one goes. And then to get our flash board up, you can take a little flat screwdriver, turn your camera around to the front, and right here under the flash capacitor, just take a flat screwdriver and push up, and that will get that flashboard to pop loose, and then ease it up out of there. And be careful, because if your capacitor is still charged up, you don't want to get shocked. Alright, and now in order to do the hack for the externals with the board in this orientation, you'll need to solder right next to the green board down here on this left hand side. It's going to be your battery external negative, and the one to the far right is going to be your battery external positive. So solder your external wires on there. Okay, now in order to get the camera to fit back together, and once you've got those externals in there, you're going to need to clear out some of this plastic housing that's right here. And so what I do is just take some little snips or cutters, cut down a little bit on either side, several locations across there, and then you can take a small pair of pliers or whatever you have that will work, and just break off some of those plastic pieces, clear that out. Alright, so as you can see, I've got some of that area cleared out there, and I'll kind of trim that up with a knife to make it look neater, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. I am going to attempt to do the IR hack on this camera, and after doing a little bit of searching by taking the shutter assembly out of the camera, I finally concluded that we needed to remove 3 screws on the bottom here, and take this bottom plate off with this ribbon, and the cut glass filter that we need to remove is behind here. Only problem is, I don't know how this is going to affect our focus on the camera, so it's possible that once this is done and you put it back together, you may have to take the camera apart a few times to adjust the tension on these screws, either in or out, to get your focus set back. But anyway, to take this loose, we need a little T5 bit and remove these screws. And under this bottom left one and the top right one, you notice there's a spring here. You can't really see it on this side so much. Right up in this area you can. But just be aware that when you take these screws out, that it's going to release the tension on those springs. Alright, so I'm going to start with the bottom right one and take it out. Okay, and then remove the other 2. Alright, now we can take this off, and there's our sensor right there. And so we need to take that piece of filter off. So if I can get under here, and there, that whole little deal, the rubber gasket and the glass is coming out. Okay, so I'm not sure if we're going to need to put that gasket back in, and I'm assuming that probably will, since it's looks like it's acting as a spacer in there. So I'm just going to get that glass out and try to put that gasket back in place by setting it down in the housing here. Get it back where it goes. You got to be careful here. You don't want to introduce any dust or dirt down in there on that lens. Alright, so now try to put this sensor back on. place and try to get our screws back in. So anyway, that should give us our infrared hack on the camera. Like I said, I just don't know what the focus is going to be on it, so I'm going to go ahead and get the camera back together, and then we'll come back and check our hack once I have everything done. Alright, so before I get my camera completely back together, just want to show you how I'm routing my wires on this camera. This is different than I would normally do it, but the customer that I'm doing this camera for, which is Joe Zinke, appreciate you sending me this camera, Joe, so I can figure out the hour hack on it. He wants the servo wire on the left hand side over here, so I've routed my wires coming off of my power and shutter board up top and my external wires coming out and coming to the left side here, and just have those taped down in place over here. So now I can go ahead and get my LCD screen attached and get the camera back together, and then we'll come back and we'll check this hack and see how the infrared focus is on it. Alright, so I have the hack completed on this FP8, and I routed the wires out the left hand side as the customer wanted me to do, and I'll be putting a servo over here. But the hour hack did work, and the focus seems to be pretty good. But one thing that I found out is when you put your camera back together, you can leave this little bottom plate off that goes on this bottom left corner. Well, actually it would fit around this direction, but leave that off, and the one screw that goes on this bottom left side. And if you need to make adjustments to the focus on the camera, you can do that simply by I loosen this bottom right screw, just back it out a little bit, and then you can use the top right and the bottom left screws, turning them in or out a little bit at a time, and test your focus to see how it is. I had to tighten this one down pretty tight to get it to where I pretty well suited with it. But anyway, to test the hack on the camera, I'm going to test my externals first, as I always do. I have my battery installed, and get my external wires, check the voltage on those, and I'm reading 3.82, so I know my external wires are connected good. And then to test the hack itself, we need to take our power common and power wires and touch those together and keep them together. Alright, and then take the shutter wire, and touch to those, and we'll get a photo. We'll do that again. We'll get another photo, and as soon as you break the connection between power and power common, the camera powers off. Alright, so that's the hack on the Panasonic FP8 with the hour modification done to it and the externals. So hope this helps, and thanks for watching.